Hello and welcome to the Legends and Lads Cricket Podcast. I am Krishna Maitreya, your host, and this episode we have Chiru back after his exams and all the hectic stuff he's been through for the last 1 month. And we couldn't have Vijay sir and Rakesh sir today with us, but we have a very special guest today, Nikhil brother. Hello brother, so how has it been coming to this podcast today?
Hey, thanks for the introduction. And I mean, it's nice to collaborate finally. Thanks for inviting me as well. So, I've seen the work that you guys have done. I mean, it's been about 5 years that you've recently touched. 5 years isn't a joke. So, congrats on that as well. Yeah, excited to see how
And
this goes.
And to introduce you to all the audience, I would like to tell something about you. So, you have been a really good content creator. I have seen many edits on your Insta page, Wicketless Whispers and Wicket Whispers. And recently, during the recently concluded Women's World Cup, you had created a Wordle on the women's cricket team on different players. You know, you gave clues, and I myself had gone through the Wordle, and it was really interesting because it really took me back, and it I had to really think it through, like who could be the player, and really solve the Wordle. So I did it my first Wordle in 4 tries. So it was a really wonderful experience, and over to you now. The first question about, since this episode is going to be about the recently concluded India versus South Africa series. So, what do you make of it? Because now we have lost the South Africa series 0-2 at India, playing on spin friendly pitches. So, what do you make of it? Do you see it as the transition phase going awry, or do you feel it as you know many a line series of mix-ups that have been going wrong? What do you make of it?
Yes, it's been a very interesting series of sorts. It's been pretty disappointing from India fans' perspective, but at the same time, you do want to look back, and say what a good job South Africa actually did. Um, Throughout the years, you've often heard the phrase "India is the final frontier," right? So whenever you say "final frontier," you know that because India has been such a difficult place to tour for any other teams coming in here. So they knew how difficult it actually is trying to come here and win. So all this while it had been, sort of this invincible sort of thing that, well, it's India, so you're not really sure whether you can actually win here. But I think the New Zealand and the South Africa series does show that teams, if you're well prepared and if you do come in here, you do actually have a chance. It has been very difficult from an Indian fan's perspective because it's not something that we are used to, right? If you look at the stats, I believe we have lost from 2013 to 2024. I believe we have lost about 4 test matches in total during that entire phase. And then you just see from just 2 series what the result was. We have never been whitewashed this badly. But at the same time, you do ponder over how well South Africa actually played and outplayed us in almost every aspect. So, in that sense, it's been a very uh, eye-opening series at the same time. Lot of wake-up calls that are ringing, and it's high time we take some sort of action so that going forward we don't keep. We don't want to see Test cricket dying in India because there's just way too much abundance of talent, and with stuff like this, yeah, I think we'll discuss more about it as we move further.
Yeah, and I have so many points to add, Nikhil brother. Thanks. First of all, thank you for coming, joining us on this episode. Uh, like we have seen so many press conferences, whether it was the South African head coach, giving a daring statement to India on day 4, saying we wanted India to grow well. Uh, I mean, professionals called it unprofessional or whatever you want to say it, but when was the last time did you see a head coach of a opposition team say that to an Indian team? At least for Test, we have seen Pat Cummins into 2023 World Cup saying that we wanted that silence in the crowd. Uh, that definitely hurts. It's the November month as well. I remember there was a time when countries used to get scared to come to India and play Test cricket because that was our stature. And I remember in 2020 when our openers, whether it was Mayank Agarwal or way before that Murli Vijay, simply getting 200s for fun And Rohit Sharma, when he made that return to Test cricket, we saw how it was, and we saw how Test captaincy of Virat Kohli was, and we've been through all the ups of Test cricket, and suddenly seeing us, losing Test series, the one with New Zealand and now with South Africa, and it has come at a time when we are winning the, say the T20 World Cup and the Champions Trophy, where we are just getting happy about winning ICC trophies, and then again we're getting disappointed at something that we have been doing well for so many years. And I think Test cricket, for the actual cricket lovers, Test cricket is something that we all love, and we really want India to stay at the top. If you see right now the WTC rankings, you'll see India at number 5. And I remember the first two WTC cycles, you would see India always at number 1, number 2, number 3, and we'll be like, okay, we need to, there would be calculations. Okay, we need to win this test match, we need to win that test match, and then go to the WTC final. Now, I think it is out of equation for us to. It is impossible for us to think whether we're qualifying for the the, ne- the WTC final in this cycle. And also, given that we'll be playing the T20 World Cup in February and seeing the next test series, I've actually gone through the schedule. I think we're not playing any test series until July, August of next year. That's almost 6 months, or 6 months, 6, 8 months away from now. And what is Gautam Gambhir thinking, Maitreya? What do you think is happening? What are they? What are the management thinking about Test cricket? Will they keep it aside for some time and say, okay, we're going to focus on white ball cricket again, or will they think, okay, we need to groom a separate set of players for Test cricket and keep them away from white ball cricket?
According to me, I'm not understanding exactly what the strategies behind this whole test setup right now, because they have changed the captain and they have taken out the core team actually in the last 1 year. As I've earlier said, it is in the transition phase. But I'm not understanding the fact that Gambhir is not able to get the right set of players into the test setup, because he insists that there should be the domestic basis should be used for taking teams, like for selecting the players into the Indian team. But there are a lot of players who are not selected into this test team right now, but have average above 45. And to name a few, I would say Rutraj Gaikwad or Jagadishan or Prithvi Shaw, Dhruv Shore, Baba Indrajit, Yash Rathod, Sarfraz Khan. All these set of players have an average of 45 and above, and they are not into the test team right now. And all of them have more than 2,500 runs in the domestic circuit. All of them have been performing consistently for a lot of years. And another one, Abhimanyu Ishwaran, he was taken into the team, but he was never given a chance to play. So coming to the test side, I believe Gambhir is, I don't know what is his exact tactic, because in the limited overs he is getting sort of success, I would say, because the players are doing well. But if you see in the test side, the England series especially, he considers it as a victory. I don't know, because in the press match, post match conference, he boasted about, I was the same guy who led the team in England. So the England series was, just very close to being a very humiliating series for us. It was by luck that we had drawn it 2-2, and he shouldn't consider that as a success, because other than the win with Bangladesh and a win against West Indies, out of all the series that Gambhir has coached India in the test setup, there has not been any other win to showcase. So I think there should be a lot of changes that should be coming through, especially in the batting order, because after removing players like Pujara and Rahane from the test setup, they have been the players who have been giving consistency to the Indian batting order at number 3 and the middle order phase. And they had been tiring out the bowlers. They played proper test cricket. But now I think the players right now are finding it difficult to shift from format to format and give that kind of performance when it matters the most. So I believe we should have this core set of players who will play test cricket, who will play only test cricket, because I believe Pujara was there like that, Rahane was there like that, and I believe someone else should come, because they can continue to play the Ranji Trophy or the other domestic tournaments in the test format, and they'll be properly warmed up when the test season comes and they can deliver it for the Indian team. So that is my view on this. And coming to the bowler side, I believe after the departure of Ravi Ashwin, there has been a lot of lacuna, especially coming to the Indian games, the home games for us, because he was the highest wicket taker for us in the home side. He took out of his 500 odd wickets, 374 wickets at home in victories. So looking at these statistics, it is really a big space to fill. Even Kuldeep Yadav is a brilliant bowler, no doubt in that. But to fill the shoes of Ravi Ashwin is something that he needs more time, I believe, to adjust into. And as I believe the transition phase is going on, so can't point many fingers at one person, but they have to find this stability soon because India is known to be a very good test team, especially from the era of Virat Kohli. And we have been one of the most, dangerous sides, especially at home. And to lose that kind of that name consistency, that fear is going to go away from all the teams whenever they'll be visiting India. As Dinesh Karthik said, it will be a very looking forward to thing for them. So I don't want that to happen. India should stay strong, especially where we cherish the most, because our fans here, if they see us losing test cricket, in 2 to 3 days, the interest also will go down in test cricket. So all these factors matter a lot, and I believe BCCI and India, with all its resources, will find a way to make a strong comeback in this.
I have an interesting perspective and an interesting question for you, Nikhil, bro. So I first of all disagree with you, Maitreya, in the sense where you told about the England series. I feel it is not a loss, or it wasn't a. I would say it is. Yeah, of course, it's not a victory. Two draw is not a victory for us, not a series victory. But I think the fifth Test match told a lot about the spirit of the Indian team.
Yeah,
Uh, but
that I agree
but
with
at the
you.
same time,
What I wanted
yeah,
to say was, it is a victory for us, but it is not something to boast about after losing 0-2 against South Africa.
yeah,
That is
yeah.
what it is.
That's yeah. I agree with you on that term. I mean, you do when you lose something, you don't want someone going into press conference and saying, "I've done this, I've done that." People will
Yeah.
take him as an arrogant head coach. Uh, I'm not pointing out any finger at Gautam Gambhir, but Nikhil brother, like I've seen Harsha Bogle or some of the experts saying, "No, why can't we have a separate head coach for red ball and separate head coach for white ball?" Because white ball cricket, Gautam Gambhir has done exceptionally well. We have seen the returns in Asia Cup, we have seen the return in Champions Trophy, and all the series that we have going through. But when it comes to Test cricket, I have seen this interesting stat. India has used the most number of Test players in the last 1 year. I think second to West Indies.
Right.
I'm not sure about the
Right.
numbers, but there have been so many batting shuffles. There have been so many players coming in and out. Whether it was Sai Sudarshan, I mean, there's so much insecurity in the player's mind. I mean, will I get a spot in the team? And there is so much going on in the Indian test setup. Yet, yes, it is a transition phase, but boss, we are one of the best test teams, and we need to cope up to this. So, my question to you: do you agree? Anyway, we are having split test captaincy and white ball captaincy. So why not head coach? I mean, it is very different for an international team to have that kind. I'm not sure if I think it is very new, but your opinion on that?
I do agree to some extent on that. Before we touch on that, I think coming to the Gautam Gambhir issue, Gautam Gambhir solely isn't the problem. He's a major part of the problem, but I do feel that it does boil down to the players as well. But as a head coach, you have to give clarity. Let's the same stat that you picked about saying India have played, I think, the second most number of players in the last WTC cycle or whatever. When you pick certain players, play them in the best position slot so that they get a chance to succeed. Now let's take the case of Washington Sundar in this thing. They actually wanted to try him at number three so that maybe going forward overseas you can probably play that extra all-rounder there and then probably push everyone down. That is fine, but why did you have to play him when you had Sai Sudarshan and Devdutt Padikkal already in the squad? Okay, leave that. So Washington Sundar did a decent job with the bat in the first innings. Not going to say anything on that. In the second test, when you immediately play Washington Sundar down to 8, let's say I'm Washington Sundar, what is my clarity? What is my role clarity? Am I primarily there as a bowler who can bat? Am I primarily there as a number 3? Clarity for me is still not there. That is one aspect of it. So, with respect to Gautam Gambhir thing, I would just like to see enough clarity being given. More than clarity, enough times for them to even make that judgment. Let's say Karun Nair, for example, he played in that England tour, which he did decent. He's nowhere to be found ever again. Even the New Zealand tour, Sarfaraz Khan scored a very good 150 plus. After that, there's no reason whatsoever. So things like that, I feel as fans, we don't get enough clarity, and then that's where I feel enough speculations come into picture. Even the question about Nitish Kumar Reddy and Akshar Patel. Let's say for the first test, Akshar Patel played. The second test, Akshar was dropped, and then Nitish Kumar Reddy was played ahead of him. I didn't quite understand it, nor did I agree with it, because Akshar, I still feel, is a way better batter in India. He's a better bowler too. Plus, Nitish Kumar Reddy, you didn't give him enough bowling as well, right, in the second test. So, clarity in terms of that is not something I agree with. Coming to your question, Chiru, I think split coaching, yeah, it's something that I have also thought about. I don't know to what extent it works in countries like India, because England also tried that, remember? And then they went back to Baz McCallum handling all three. So I don't know to the extent to which, but the only upside I see to it is, let's say the same case about the South Africa series. One set of players were playing the Australia ODI series, right? Australia ODI and T20s. I feel with another coach in, they could have probably given themselves enough time to prep, uh, thought through the series. If you just think about it, they just arrived 3 days later. We come and play the South Africa series, which is not enough prep time. You think about what South Africa did. South Africa didn't just come here directly to play the India A games. They went to Sri Lanka, not Sri Lanka, Pakistan. Sorry, what am I saying? They played in Pakistan. They drew one each, I believe, and then they came here. They still played practice games, so which means they had enough game time as well, which is very important in today's world. You see most of the players playing white ball, and the tempo of which the white ball game is very fast. It's like you're driving car at the fifth gear, and then you suddenly have to come to first. What would just imagine what happens to the vehicle. So similar case, when you're playing such high tempo in white ball and you have to suddenly make that transition to red ball, you need to give yourself enough time. That's what we're talking about, prep. So that's something that we didn't quite see, is also something that I as a fan would like to see improve. That we take things more seriously. Where have we seen enough prep time for every player, especially in red ball I'm talking. White ball though, I think the today's speed itself dictates, and then we are pretty good at it. Red ball is where our concern is. So in that case, I feel split coaching can work. The other downside, only thing I see to it is too many cooks spoil the broth. If there are way too many ideologies, because it is still overall Indian cricket that should see as a coach, right? If Coach X has a different ideology, Coach Y has a complete different ideologies, there are quite a few players who belong to both the bags. That I don't know to what extent it works, but it is a tempting option to try at this point, because no one's doubting Gambhir's white ball coaching stuff. He's pretty good at it, and he's proved his metal, I feel, very much. Red ball is something that needs that kind of wake up call, and what else are we waiting for, sort of thing. What else you want to mess up before you try that? Split coaching thing is one point.
Maitreya,
Yeah.
My next question to you. When day 5 of second test came, were you thinking on day 4, if you remember, Jadeja was told at the press conference, a draw here is as good as a win. So, what were your thoughts? What were the thoughts in your head running at that point of time? 2 wickets down, and did you think, or do you even believed that India could have drawn this by just playing? You saw Sai Sudarshan, 9 of 138. What if India played more carefully? Do you, I mean, could there have been a draw in that match?
Yeah, if you see, there are two aspects of looking at it. One is if you see the bench strength, because we have seen Kuldeep Yadav playing more than 100 balls in the previous innings. So everything was possible that day. Anything, if you had the correct potential, I believe if you were in the right zone, anything could have happened. You could have gone for the draw, you could have gone for the win. But practically, if you look at that situation that day, everything, the upper hand was completely on the South African side because they had more 90 overs and we had just 8 wickets left. And we were on the receiving end because we weren't able to read the pitch properly. And how much ever you try, no, you keep defending ball after ball, ball after ball, and they will be just that one ball will be enough to make that mistake. And just that is test cricket because you just lose your 1% of concentration and you make a error, and if that goes in the opposition's way, then that's done and done, that's it. And once you break that momentum, once you break a partnership, it is very difficult for the next batsman to come in and get that partnership going. The next partnership starts, you try your best, but you see more than 400 runs you need to hit, you can't win. And then you try to go for defending, and then you see it's spinning a lot, you're not able to read the wicket. So it just wasn't on our side that day. Yeah, Jadeja, his statement was something, you have to make such statements because you have to give yourself that self confidence and self belief because you can't, give up one day before the match ends. So he did what he had to do. He spoke it and he also hit a 50 there. So he was, I think, the lone warrior there, along with Sudarshan, who tried his best to make it a draw. But again, the match was gone. I didn't believe there was much chance, even though Jadeja said such statements, because there wasn't any, as I previously mentioned, a test specialist there to have given Jadeja the, on the other end, he would have supported Jadeja. So it was Vihari and Ashwin back in Australia about 4 years back. But I don't see any such player right now in this setup who could have, provided that kind of barrier role. I would say the wall, that kind of a role. I think no one has that capability right now. So that was one reason I didn't believe it was practically possible for us to, make it a draw. But yeah, a draw would have been like a win for us because the South African side high on confidence. If we could have broken them down at least by, not giving them that one victory which was supposed to be a victory for them, then it would have been a lot of confidence booster for us too. But yeah, that's how it's written and that's how it happened. And now we have to find out the mistakes and rectify it. And then my next question to you, Nikhil bro. So now I wanted to talk about Simon Harmer because he was a man who destroyed the Indian batting lineup. And I heard about him back in 2015, if I'm not wrong. It was again in the India series, I believe. He made his mark. So he has played from 2015 only 14 tests for the South African side, and he has picked up 69 wickets. And in the last two matches itself, he has picked up 17 wickets. So that shows that he's actually a really good player, but for some reasons he's been used mainly for the India series and he has been overlooked for many other series throughout the years. Over a span of 10 years, he has played just 14 tests. And in the if you see the domestic side, he has 1017 wickets. So that is something that is really great because more than 1000 wickets in the first class level, and you're not picking up for more tests. So talk about Simon Harmer, this phenomenon who just came and destroyed India in India.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's just take a look at his story. Huh? So Simon Harmer makes his debut for South Africa in 2015 against West Indies, I believe. It's a quiet debut, and then you're right. He does play the India series. I think they lose 0-3 as well. And then later on, he feels maybe I'm not quite there at the international level because he's just had a decent start to the career. He's not had any great performances or things like that. So what he does is he feels that maybe his career is not suited for international level. So what he does is he goes and signs a call pack deal for the England county. So what is a call pack deal? Call pack deal basically states that any overseas player, if you want to play the England county, you have to sign a call pack deal, and then you'll be considered as a local player and not a overseas. You don't have to belong in the overseas quota. The only catch is when you sign a call pack deal, you're no longer allowed to play for your country of origin, which means when he signed the call pack deal, he was not allowed to play for South Africa ever again. He actually went and signed that deal. What happened was in 2020, I believe, is when Brexit happened, right? So with Brexit happening, callback also went away. which means he could actually go back and play for South Africa. He comes back and plays for South Africa, I think, in 22 or 23, and against Bangladesh, he gets a 7 for. Post which we all know how good Keshav Maharaj is in Test cricket, so he's always been sidelined, Simon Harmer. Uh, and now, recently, what happens? He's given another opportunity in the Pakistan series, and he makes the most of it. It's a must-watch delivery. Just watch Simon Harmer to Imam Mulak. I think the second test, wide of the crease, pitches on middle and leg, and then just spins past to take the side off. That's the amount of turn he purchases, and it's great the way he bowls. Right, he's that tall. He's about 6 foot. The subtle variations. It's not massive changes, and he can repeat those subtle changes without any major delivery or stride changes. So if you look at, let's just take some example, was I think Washington Sundar. He beat him completely in flight. He was deceived. He bowled around 70 odd or 80 clicks and was completely deceived. Got that extra bounce and things like that. So that's one thing where you say, wow, he has the drop, he has the spin and things like that. You also look at the Kuldeep Yadav dismissal in the thing last in the fourth innings of the second test. Same one, same length, but he's pushed it through. It's skidded and absolutely castled him. Subtle variations, but yet so effective. And now he's 37, and we are now speaking about him as the player of the series. 17 wickets, I believe, at
Yeah.
1.9 economy or average of 8.9 or things like that. So, and not just that, you also listen to this kind of stuff he says in his post conferences. There were questions that said, perhaps not, you might not get another game in the next year or so, because Australia play in South Africa, England then come to South Africa. So with Keshav Maharajan, does he really get another opportunity, is what the question was presented to him, to which he very clearly said he's perfectly okay playing the second spinner's role to Keshav Maharaj. It shows how secure he is in life, the kind of age he is in, and how many people can actually say that at the international stage is something that we should appreciate. And not just that, I feel you look at the series, he literally outbowled Keshav Maharaj, he and Muthuswamy, which is a very huge achievement, you could say, because Keshav Maharaj is still quality, right? So with things like that, I feel it's a fabulous story, and at the same time, I wish he reaps more rewards, because I feel that's coming into good fruition at this stage. And yeah, what a story and what a series it has been for Simon.
Yeah, and I would like to talk about Sai Sudarshan and maybe present this question to both of you. I will give my views on that as well. So, how do you judge a player whether he has been doing well or no? Because see, it's uh, very easy for statisticians or very easy for people to say that 14 runs in test match and that will add up to your average, that will add up to your total runs and all that, and say he's not scored many runs. We're not talking about that 89 in England, but if you talk about his entire test career, international test career as of now, you would say these runs don't mean a lot. But it meant on day 5 when he waited and blocked every ball that came to stump and left every ball that was pitching outside. Uh, he did a fumble and then he got out. So what I'm trying to ask both of you is, now how do you judge Sai Sudarshan's place? Do you say is still not so good to be playing in the Indian setup? Because if you see his average is around 39, and there are a lot of other Indian domestic players who've been scoring better than him at a better average. So are you seeing the runs, or are you seeing the strike rate, or how are you looking at players and judging them? These are good and these are not good. Not good. I wouldn't say not good, but there are players better than this particular player. So how do you present it to the? If you are a selector, how do you present it to the people and the audience waiting to hear from you? You go in the order you like. Any one of you?
First, Nikhil, bro, you say what?
Yeah, like I feel it's a good question, but at the same time, I feel for situations like this, you take a player X, in this case, Sai Sudarshan, you give him enough few game times at a particular position. You don't chop and change. Now, let's say I am Sai Sudarshan. I've scored a decent amount of runs. and then I'm dropped for the next test, and then I'm thinking, oh, will I make the next test or not? And then I realize, oh, maybe I'm there in the next test. So I come. I'm not sure if I get out too early, will they drop me for the next test? So doubts like that become, it's not good for the player. So what I would say is, if you give him enough opportunities at one particular position, that gives you enough time to judge the player. Having said that, I also feel the way a player looks before he gets out, that's how I see it at least. Now, this is how I view it. Now, let's take the second test for example. Sai Sudarshan scored, I don't know, 14 odd runs in 100 plus deliveries, but I wouldn't say he looked very comfortable, to be very honest. Because no, I'm mistaken. I don't think he scored 14, but whatever it is, he didn't look very comfortable in my opinion. Because I think he was out already once, and then Marco Jansen had overstepped. That was one thing, and not just that, there were two or three instances where he tried to flick the ball on the leg side but was totally beaten for pace. So when you see things like that, you realize maybe he's not in the best of nick. Are we doubting skill set? Absolutely not. Sai Sudarshan will definitely be a gun player for India, but right now he doesn't have the enough experience or the runs in domestic cricket for him to become that sort of player, stable at number three. So it's easy for us to sit here and speak, but at the same time, I feel, if from Sai Sudarshan's perspective, I think if you give him enough game times in Ranji Trophy, that's what we keep speaking about, saying get your enough prep so that you're ready for the international stage, because it's red ball. It is different than white ball. So you give Sai Sudarshan enough games at the top order in Ranji Trophy and then see how he fares. He would have got that enough experience. He will be in that field. So more time you spend on the field, you tend to get better. It's very rare that someone of his caliber will not get better. So if he plays enough Ranji games, has a decent enough average, I think he will become that next step player to what he expects of himself. But right now, that's how I would judge. Let's say that I gave you that example, right? That he looked hurried on. Um, he was, and I felt at one point he went into a shell way too much. I know they were thinking of only about a drop, but I felt it was even. I saw a couple of deliveries which were short and wide. He wasn't able to cut through. Few on the leg side, he wasn't able to clip through, which an informed Sai Sudarshan would have. So I'm not saying that he's not informed, but I'm saying things like selection. You give him one particular slot, give him X number of games, and say, boss, X number of games, we're going to play you at number three. We'll take a call post that. It's clear for me as a player, it's clear for the management, it's clear for the team. So that's something that, as coach and management, they have to make that call before they judge anyone. It could not just be Sai Sudarshan, it could be a Sarfaraz Khan, it could be Abhinamanu Ishwaran or anyone else.
Yes, and coming to that question, I believe you have answered everything, bro. So, uh, nothing more to say, because even I do have same beliefs, because I believe a player should be given enough number of chances, but and he should be given clarity of what his role is supposed to be in the team. And once he is not able to live up to the expectations, I believe he should be communicated as to what he's expected to do and what is his role. And once he's not able to perform, as per expectations in a given number of matches, I believe we should move on to the other deserving player, because India is a country with large population, and we have so many domestic players who are very good. And due to the competitive nature of this whole process, I believe this should be the this should be how the step should be taken, because till we find the correct player, there should be proper communication as to what is expected of the current players who are playing, and what should be their way of approaching the game and everything. So as you have said rightly, I believe everything should be done in this way, but the management takes the final call, and we are just commentators on the whole thing, what's going on.
More than commentators, I think we are spectators, Maitreya.
Yeah,
Uh,
spectators, and we just give our views and opinions. Fan opinions, I would say.
my last question to you, Nikhil, bro. So we're talking about the spin that Indian cricket has produced, and over the years we've seen how important spinners played in our soil, and we saw how Ashwin filled that now that Ashwin has retired, we know that empty spot is there, and we have Jadeja. But I think Jadeja and Ashwin duo was so good that we were invincible at home, right? Take for example Siraj. He has a lot of wickets in overseas, but when it comes to India, you will still see him in the setup, but you will see him bowling maybe just say one spell at the start of day one, and then you actually don't see him bowling many overs. It has been a recent trend. So when we had someone like Ashwin, now that he has retired, now how do you fill this void? We have brilliant players like Akshar Patel, we have Kuldeep Yadav, but to fill that void, are you looking to? There are many spinners on the bench. So do you pick one player and say, this is my next Ashwin, or how do you, given set of 5 to 4 spinners, 4 to 5 spinners, how do you how do you judge, or how do you choose this is my next Ashwin? I want him game after game.
See, first of all, filling shoes of Ashwin is impossible. I mean, he has what, 37 test wickets. How do you replace anyone with the caliber of Ashwin, right? So I think that's unfair on on any player coming in. But at the same time, it makes you rethink and appreciate what Ashwin did in his prime. Remember, there were times where people would say, "Oh, just a home track bully." But being a home track bully is also difficult, nah? It's not that easy. And Ashwin had subtle variation. Yeah, he would bowl side spin, he would bowl the overspin, he would bowl with the new ball, he would get the drift in, he would bowl comfortably to left-handers, right-handers the same way. He would vary it with the carom ball, all without varying his line and length. That's how consistent he was. And the thing about Ashwin is he always was a attacking option while giving control. How many bowlers can actually do that? Nathan Lyon is someone that you can think about, but he was, see what happens is, as a bowler, when you try to over attack, you tend to leak runs. When you try to give too much control, you don't quite get those wickets. Ashwin managed to do both of that, so those are huge shoes to fill. uh, I would say India has enough spinners. You're right. Kuldeep Yadav, Washington Sundar, Akshar Patel, Jadeja. But Ashwin, the team man, becomes so much more important. You just see, like how you mentioned, Jadeja with Ashwin or the rest of the spinners with Ashwin. It's a bowling unit, right? He was that main key component of that. So he helped everyone else become better because he would keep one end tight or look to attack from one end, whereas the other bowler would benefit. So things like that is what we would really miss. And his brain. I think we have enough spinners, but we will definitely miss Ashwin's brain for sure. Um, it's unfair to expect the same of Washi because Washi is still very new to this entire setup. But yeah, I feel more overs he has under him, Washi will become a better spinner for sure because no doubt he has the caliber, he has the height, he has a lot of similar
About
characteristics as well.
Washington Sundar, I think he has been looked at as more of a batter because if you see 2021, you saw him batting up the order, somewhere in the middle order, and he has given that performances as a batter. And he's actually primarily a bowler, but when it comes to red ball cricket, I'm not sure I've seen many wickets from him.
But actually, I would consider him more as a bowler than a batter in red ball. I would want that at least for the Indian team because he no doubt he can bowl. Remember the New Zealand test where he picked up a 7 for after the Gabba test, I believe he didn't play anything, and then he played the New Zealand test and he picked up a 7 for. He was absolutely brilliant. I think Pune it was. Yeah. So no doubt he has the caliber, but I would like him to be a bowler first at this point because we are very bad in need of an off spinner, and especially in the Indian surfaces, Jadeja does provide control, but we saw the series is. I'm not doubting Jadeja for sure, but you do need attacking options at both ends, and Washington does look promising. But at the same time, I feel you bring in other bowlers too. Tanush Kotian is one name you can think of. Manav Sutar is someone else you can think of. Give them enough games. I'm not saying at the international level. Judge them enough at the domestic level first before you make that call. And I also feel to some extent, this was something I used to keep thinking when Ashwin was playing. All this is good when Ashwin is there. What happens once Ashwin retires? I feel that prep should have happened before itself. That you groom the set of off spinners or spinners in the pipeline so that when Ashwin retires, there are I'm not saying you'll replace an Ashwin, but you have someone who's ready to take that shoes or close enough. Otherwise, you'll be left in this half and half transition where you're like, maybe this guy can do it or this guy can do it. You won't be sure how many games to give him before you make that judgment. So I feel prep before a player. This happened even to Virat. This happened to Sachin. This happened to Rohit. This will happen in the future as well to the Shubman Gills, Jaiswals, and things like that. But I feel that is something that they should well prep. Even Australia will have this problem once Lyon retires and things like that. But they have slowly started to identify things. If you see, Kuhneman's one, Todd Murphy's one, Rockacholi is still in the domestic circuit. But yeah, I feel that is something that they could have prepped better. But right now, answering to your question, yeah, it's difficult, man. I'm not going to say it's easy, but you give them enough, hopefully, more. Ask Washi to play more domestic games. Ask him to go back and work on his red ball game more. I'm okay if he doesn't feature in every white ball series, if they prioritize his red ball health as of now, because that's very, very important for the Indian red ball setup. So I feel that's one way to go, because no doubt Washi does have the skill. Uh, it's just the overs and the with experience. I'm sure he'll get better. So something like that.
This will bring you to the end of today's episode. Thank you, Nikhil brother, for joining us, and thank you, Maitreya, for joining. It was a wonderful episode, recording after a long time. So yeah,
Hey, thanks, boys. This was my debut, but it was a nice one. You guys made it fun.